Have you ever wanted to make your own dry herbs, but you don't have a freeze dryer? And if you're like me, you don't really appreciate the flavor from a dehydrator? No equipment needed. Hello family, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicky and you're with Gravy in the Kitchen. So today we're going to explore a different way on drying herbs and how you can grow a year's worth of dry herbs in just regular plant buckets or pots or whatever you have on hand. We're going to go outside and we're going to harvest some basil, some thyme, and if my oregano is doing okay, we're going to go ahead and harvest that. I harvested some sage a couple weeks ago, so I don't know if there's any sage out there, but we're going to check that also. And I'm going to show you how to dry your herbs with no equipment, and then how to process the dry herbs so you can have enough herbs for a whole year. And that's at least, depending on how many herbs you're growing, items you never have to buy again, because you'll just keep growing these every year, drying them, processing them, and storing those for a whole entire year. All right, let's go outside and check the herb pots. All right, so right here I have 3 pots of basil. I have some thyme, some oregano, and some sage. This is the first time I have grown thyme and oregano, and it's what Tammy gave us back in the spring. But basil I have grown before, sage I have had for years. So let me show you what we're going to do. We're just going to go in here and cut the basil back. Gosh, I love the smell of basil. So that's the basil. And right here, this is my thyme. Just giving it a little haircut. There we go, we have thyme right there. I don't think the oregano is ready for us to harvest, but I'm going to go ahead and get this sage. So I got 1 sprig of sage. Alright, let's go ahead and take our harvest inside. Alright, so we have our basil, our thyme, and our sage. I'm going to go ahead and rinse these off and show you what we're going to do next. So I put my rinsed herbs in these mesh reusable produce bags, and I just hang it right above my sink on the pot rack. So this is something I did, I think it was last week. So they're dry. This is basil. And in this one I have some sage. So I have a bowl here. I'm going to dump the basil in. that's dry basil. I don't have any thyme dried right now, but we're going to work with what we have. And that's some dry sage. All right, this is the basil. I have rinsed it and I just got it sitting on a towel. I do like to go ahead and remove all the stems. It makes it easier to process when I don't have to de-stem it at the time of processing. So I'm just picking all the leaves off of the stems. All right, so let me go ahead and get all the basil leaves off of these stems. So I have all the basil in here. Now we're going to work on the thyme. I'm not going to worry about removing them from the stems on the thyme because the leaves are, let's see if I can get you to focus. The leaves are so small, they will come off pretty easy. So I'm just going to put all the thyme and the stems right into this mesh bag. Right, so that's our thyme. But I'm going to remove the leaves from the sage. So I'm just pinching it. You see the leaves and you see the stems? I'm just pinching it right at the base of the leaf. So I'm getting no stems in here. That way I don't have to worry about the stems when we're ready to process. All right, so that is our sage. And just so it doesn't hang super low from my pot rack, I do take the string and I just wrap it around the bag. And that way when I hang it, it's not hanging so low. Let me get all three of these ready to hang up above the pot rack. On the pot rack. All right, so all three of them are ready. So here's the basil. The thyme. And the little bit of sage we have here. So all three bags are hanging up. And about every other day I'll just come in here and just give them a little toss, move them around to make sure they're drying evenly. And yes, I do rub my head on the bags, but that's okay because that's what we have and that's what we're going to use. So they'll stay up there for anywhere between a week and a half to 2 weeks to dry. And then every other day I'll just go in there and take it down and toss the bag to make sure it's drying evenly through that bag. All right, now we're going to go ahead and process the basil and the sage that we already have dried. We're going to use the smoothie blender. So I've got the new dry basil in here and I'm going to add what I had already in this jar. because I had dried some earlier and just stuck it in the jar, and I need to grind that up. Oh yeah, that worked perfect. Let's get that back in the jar. Beautiful. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. And now we have about a half a cup of dry basil. Now we're going to do our sage. And our sage. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And when those herbs dry, we'll do the same thing. We'll add the sage to the sage jar. We'll add the basil to the basil jar. And then we're going to have to make a jar for the thyme. Now, if you've priced herbs, it can be very expensive. And if you're cooking real meals with real ingredients for your family, you will be using a lot of herbs. I use a lot of herbs, and I like Italian-based herbs like oregano and basil. I love those. But if you can grow your own, and I highly suggest you to grow your own, and then just dry them, just like I do. Just air dry them above your sink or wherever you have room. And then grind it up, put it in a jar, and you have fresh, dried herbs. Besides the initial cost of getting the pot, getting the dirt, buying the seeds, other than that, it's free food. And herbs, the more you clip it, the more it will grow and the more you can harvest. Now today is Saturday. What is today? August the 5th. Remember this date, because in about a week or two we'll go right back out there and harvest more herbs. Because the more you harvest, the more it will grow. And it will grow up until frost. I know sage will come back every year. You don't have to replant sage. It will just keep coming back. That sage plant I probably have had about 4 years. Tammy, if you're watching this, can you let us know if thyme, oregano comes back every year, or do we need to replant that? We appreciate all your knowledge. But basil you do have to plant every year. So you can actually let it come up to seed, and a little flower will grow at the top, and it'll turn to seeds, and you can save your seeds for the next year, and it still won't cost you anything because you're doing your own seed save. So grow some herbs, dry your own herbs, grind up your own herbs, and have fresh, dried herbs that you grew and you can enjoy with your meals. If you don't mind, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. While you're at it, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you part of the Grammy family. So until next time, you have a blessed day. Bye, family. Ah, I love drying herbs.